Good morning. And welcome everyone to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. This is a congregation in the free faith tradition, a community of youth, adults, and children bound not by creed, but by covenant. I'm Jillian Lampert, my pronouns are she, her, serving on your board. Whether you're attending for the first time or the 100th, you're warmly invited to join us for a social hour, either on Zoom or in the social hall. You will be assigned to random groups when you arrive. We will begin about 5 minutes after the postlude ends. Speaking of social hour, coffee is back in person. We hope that you remember to bring your reusable mugs, but if not, there are mugs available for coffee in the social hall right across the hall. If you are interested in becoming a member, membership 2 is the second part in the 2-part membership series is happening today at 1 p.m. in the alcove. Contact Reverend Jack for more details. And coming soon, we will begin to have some programming on Wednesday nights again. Look for more information in a special email coming your way this week. In addition to myself, service participants today include Reverend Roger, Reverend Sarah, Amy Peterson-Derrick, and Margot Melting-Nelson, with behind-the-scenes support from Aaron Scott and Anna Garris. Music today is from our interim music directors, Olivia and Carla of the OK Factor. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes, for here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place. Margot Melting-Nelson will lead us in our chalice lighting today.
Good morning. This month we are focused on the topic of ritual, the practice of finding center. Last week, Reverend Roger opened his sermon by saying he loves rituals. Oh gosh, me too. I'm a ritual nerd of sorts, so much so that my curiosity about them and our human need for them, the fruits they bear in our lives, became a centerpiece for my graduate studies. The word ritual is derived from an Indo-European word meaning to fit together. Humans create personal and communal rituals to meet our basic needs, one of which is to handle ambivalence. So when I examine where rituals appear in my life, it's frequently at points of disjuncture and transition, times of holding on and letting go, beginnings and endings. And if that is true, then I suggest that 2020 and 2021 have been fertile soil for disjuncture and transition. And if we look back, I expect that many of us have been challenged to find new ways to hold the dual realities of this time: hope and despair, life and death, fear and courage, isolation and connection, the past and the present. In what simple and powerful ways did we call on the power of ritual during this time to help us? Here's a few. I know someone who FaceTimed baking with her granddaughter every single Saturday to share a transition they had long enjoyed in person until they could be together again. I personally held myself to a practice of daily meditation that anchored me in so many healing ways I can't begin to count. Many of the capital R rituals found their way into the realm of remote participation, the joy of weddings and graduations, online, the communal grief as families said farewell to their loved ones in virtual memorial services. These are just a few and the tip of the iceberg. I light the chalice this morning for all the creative and brave ways you have drawn upon your imagination and your resources to create and recreate meaning in your lives through ritual, especially in these times.
Please join me in our opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now we will rise in body or spirit to hum, if you're here with us in person, or sing if you are able at home, hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit, in our gray hymnal. So enjoy singing.
Good morning. One of the reasons why I love stories so much is that they teach us new things and sometimes remind us of life lessons. But truthfully, the stories that I love the most are those that leave us with more questions than answers. Those cliffhangers that leave us wondering together, sparking a sense of curiosity. Maybe you've had an experience of a story like this too, and perhaps that sparked a few different feelings for you, maybe wonder or excitement or confusion, or maybe even anger. Sometimes we just really want to know the answer, and that's okay too. But today, as I read this morning's story, a story that may provide you with more questions than answers, I invite you to take a breath and just make space for wonder and noticing and naming. As you listen to the words, also listen inside and notice what this story sparks in you. This story is called When the Horse Runs Off, and it's an adapted telling from Sarah Conover. Long ago, in a country where the mountains are among the world's loftiest, there lived an old farmer and his son. The boy spent his days attending to the work of the farm and their one horse, a beautiful stallion. After years of careful training, the horse ran swifter and smoother than any other in the region, but one day, they awoke to find their cherished stallion was missing. The son was heartbroken. The neighbors gathered around the two and lamented their great loss. But the father just gazed calmly past the villagers to the surrounding high peaks. "We shall see," he said. "We shall see if this is good or if this is bad." After a week, the magnificent horse returned, followed by an equally fine wild mare. Father and son soon trained the new animal, and this time the neighbors praised the old man's remarkable luck. He was now the wealthiest man in town. He owned the two very best horses. But the farmer simply smiled and remarked, "Who knows if this is lucky or unlucky? We shall see. We shall see." And so it came to pass that one day, while racing their splendid horses across the field, the son fell and broke his leg badly. While the boy was tended to by the doctor, the villagers bemoaned the family's terrible misfortune. But the father, calm as ever, took comfort in his boy. "He is safe," replied the old man, "and his leg will heal in time." "We shall see," he said. "We shall see." The very next week, a battalion of soldiers marched into the village. A war to the north was underway, and all the young villagers were needed immediately. But alas, there was one villager who was left behind in his bed, for it was obvious his wounds would take many months to heal. The neighbors envied the farmer's good fortune. The old farmer looked out across the field at his two fine horses grazing, and he looked at the way that the sun caught the tops of the jagged peaks in the distance, and he looked over at his son, and he smiled. "We shall see," he said. "We shall see."
Join me now in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Find a comfortable place for your body, noticing the ways that your weight rests on the surface that you're touching. Feel the discomfort in your body. Surely you have discomfort, because we all do. Clench a muscle and relax it. Did you choose your shoulders, your fingers, your belly? Do it one more time. Remember that your body is more than a vehicle for your brain. Instead, it is a complex and mysterious system that integrates information, holds our emotions, vexes and confuses us, but is what makes us human. We gather today together in many ways, both virtually gathered. We have about 76 screens attending this morning. And in person here, we have about 40-ish people. We gather with the memories of those who have been in this shared space, this community space with us in the past, and the longing and the hope for a bright and joyful future with many new faces joining our throng. We gather in hope, in sympathy, and in love. Today, we also acknowledge those among us who have served or are currently serving in the U.S. military, in active service, in reserves, or in the National Guard. Those who have given of themselves to service of this nation, those whose family members are family members of service members, and those who defend democracy. Let's take a moment to hold them all in our hearts this morning. Our community tradition is to share with each other prayers for those we worry for, those we miss, those whose joy is so big it just needs to be shared. And this morning, I've taken any prayer request from the prayer bowl, and I'll add it to the requests that come through the chat box, any that come in the next minute or two. We hold those who are mourning, those who are struggling, those who are finding a glimpse of something good, and those who are joyful. All of us who are grateful to be gathered this morning. First, I want to hold up our beloved Carol Coette, who is recovering from a stroke and has been moved into rehab, where she is making progress, doing physical therapy, and is looking forward to returning home as the next step of her recovery. And we hold Jean Doolittle's son and family far away in South Korea, and Michelle, who is healing from an accident. And now we share the names that are on our hearts. Those of you who are in this space, those of you at home, please speak out into this silence the names of those beloveds you want us to hold together. There's room in our hearts for all. Amen.
Your financial gift to our congregation supports the programs we've come to rely on as anchors in our lives. You can contribute to the offering today by following the easy prompt to text to give on your screen, or by writing a check and sending or dropping it in the box right outside the office door. Thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we live together.
Our reading this morning is Eagle Poem by Joy Harjo, who is the current Poet Laureate for the United States and is the first Indigenous person to be given this honor. To pray, you open your whole self to the sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you, and know there's more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know except in moments steadily growing and in languages that aren't always sound but other circles of emotion. Like Eagle, that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky, in wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this, and breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born and die soon within true circle of motion, like Eagle rounding out the morning inside us. We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty.
Up until the last 10 or 15 years, I believed in a God who literally answers prayers. Now, I actually never believed this intellectually, not even as a kid. The church I grew up in, that was not the understanding of God that I was taught, the liberal church I grew up in. I've never really intellectually pictured a Gary Larson-like Far Side God sitting at a computer with a smite key or a heal key or whatever else. Someone who might be swayed by our prayers. But I must have emotionally believed in a God who could fix things, because when the chips were down, I would pray. When there was a big kid coming after me on the playground, or I was on a plane with a bunch of turbulence, or a loved one was desperately ill, I would phone God for help. Please, God, distract this big kid who's coming at me on the merry-go-round. Please, God, make the turbulence stop and help this plane land. Please, God, help my mother recover from this stroke. Well, the results of my crisis-induced prayers were mixed. The most effective one was the big kid on the merry-go-round. So he was coming at me, looked like he was going to push me off. Please, God, do something. The next thing I know, I didn't even touch him. He lost his balance, fell off the merry-go-round, hit his head on the base of the merry-go-round, and there the teachers came to tend to him. I felt pretty like either God or I are pretty powerful here. Some of my other prayers not so successful, although to date, every plane I've been on has landed. Side note on that playground story, a year or two after that, the same thing happened to me. So there I was, almost knocked out on the side of the merry-go-round. Stay tuned for a sermon on karma. So anyway, it dawned on me a few years ago that I don't really do prayers like that anymore. Maybe my emotions have caught up with my intellectual understanding. It's certainly not that I don't have moments of crisis anymore. It's just that I don't do those, please God, help fix this kind of prayer. So does this signal the demise of my prayer life? No, absolutely not. And as Margot observed, these last couple of years have really cried out for prayers or other rituals in the midst of all this disjuncture and transition here at White Bear UU, in our local community, in our country, and the world. This has indeed been fertile soil for prayer. So I'm praying more than ever. And so even though intellectually and emotionally I believe less and less in a God who has the power to fix things or save things or grant things, I am praying more often. I'm not really praying for specific fixes or for rescue. Instead, I pray when I'm feeling grateful. I pray when I'm in need of discernment. I pray when I need a reminder of who I want to be and how I want to act in the world. I pray when I'm deeply aware of the wonder of life, and even more maybe when I have become oblivious to the wonders of life. I pray when I feel stuck, when I feel immobilized, when I need to remember to breathe and take that next baby step. I pray when I'm concerned about someone else. I pray when my spirit feels parched and I am in need of sustenance. And so my prayers are a lot less specific than the prayers in the old crisis mode days. Somewhere along the line, I realized that actually, I'm not smart enough to know what thing to pray for anyways. Who's to know what's going to work out best in the long run? Not me, probably not anyone. And even if God is at a computer and might be inclined to hit the key that I want, I don't know for sure that actually is the right key. This is why I love the story that Amy shared today. Who knows if it's going to be lucky or unlucky? We shall see. And with this new kind of prayer I'm doing, I actually care less and less who or what is on the receiving end of my prayer. Maybe it's nothing more than my inner self. I'm cool with that. Or maybe it's Emerson's oversoul, that divine spark that's in each of us and in this world, this beautiful world. Maybe it's the goddess. Maybe it's love with a capital L. Maybe it's spirit of life. Maybe it's a complete fiction, and there is no such thing, listening to my prayers, whatever. I really don't care. My prayers are not about getting answers anyway, or about someone fixing things. So being agnostic doesn't really get in the way of this kind of prayer, and even if I become atheist, it doesn't really get in the way. So what is prayer? For me, it's paying attention and acknowledging and naming what's going on around me and especially within me. It helps me name and own what I'm feeling. Sadness, fear, concern, joy, grief, whatever it is. Prayer also helps me remember the blessings in my life, especially those smaller ones that I become oblivious to. On this particular day, I'm so grateful for the snow that sticks to the trees. Prayer helps me think about what's most important in life, what I need to tend to. It helps me contemplate those I am concerned about, and it helps calm my spirit in the choppy seas of life. And there's really nothing magical or mysterious about this. Simply put, prayer helps me get in touch with myself, with others, with the world around us, with the Great Spirit, if there is such a thing. Joy Harjo's poem captures this essence well. I love that poem that Sarah read. When you pray, you open your whole self to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you. So I try to set aside time for prayer every day. I usually start by being aware of my breathing, take a few deep breaths. As Buddhists affirm, there is spiritual power in simply tending to this most basic of our human functions, and I find a lot of other stuff just sort of goes away when I do that. After being attentive to my breath for a bit, then I check in with my body in kind of the same way that Sarah led us in meditation. I check in with my emotions, try to pay attention to what I'm feeling. Sometimes I'm so surprised that some physical or emotional pain has not actually gotten my awareness until that moment. Then I do an inventory of what I'm thankful for at the moment, and again, always try to notice those little things, those things I might take for granted. Taking life for granted is probably a deadly sin because it kills gratitude, it kills relationships, it kills our spirits. And so this daily kind of meditation of gratitude, this gratitude inventory, super helpful. Next, I contemplate the primary relationships in my life and what I might do to strengthen those today. And it's interesting. When I actually take time to do this in the morning, I'm a better person. I'm a better spouse, better dad, a better friend, a better colleague. Then I contemplate my deepest values and whether I'm living in accordance with them, and if I'm not, what small step could I take today to help me do that? And finally, I lift up those who I'm most concerned about. I don't think that my praying will help my niece be healed from cancer. And anyway, I'm not praying for that. I'm praying for compassion for her or anyone that I'm caring about. Compassion, so that I can reach out and care and love and concern in a way that's grounded in that compassion. I think about every day, every Sunday when we do the prayers aloud where we can say people, I always say Susan Frederick Gray, who's the president of our UU Association. She has one of the worst jobs I can imagine. And so I hold her in prayer every week. I don't think that makes her a better president, although she's a really good president. But it helps me remember her and send energy. There's nothing miraculous about this, unless you count love as being miraculous, which actually I do. Now, this way I pray, because there's a bunch of steps, may sound rather elaborate, and most days I do most of it, but some days I don't. There's some days where I can only do one little piece of it. Maybe pay attention to my breath. Maybe think for a moment, wow, I am really glad to still be breathing. Keep it simple. Some days we need to do that. Anne Lamott, the spiritual writer, has a little book that captures the essence of her prayer life in 3 words. Help, thanks, wow. I like that. Then in a different book, she wrote about a woman who has a 1-word prayer in the morning, which is whatever, as in whatever happens, and then a 2-word prayer at the end of the day. Oh well, that can work too. My favorite lines from the Sufi mystic poet Rumi are, "Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground." So prayer helps the beauty that I love be what I do. It is one of the ways that I choose to kneel and kiss the sacred ground. Joy Harjo does a variation of this at the end of her poem when she says, "We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty." So friends, if prayer is something that helps you be a better person, a more grounded person, great. If you pray in a different way from what I do, great. If you pray kind of like I do, but you don't want to call it prayer, great. And if there are other ways that you let the beauty you love be what you do and prayer is not your thing, great. It is all good. I don't care what you do, but I do hope you do something spiritual on a regular basis, because translating the beauty you love into what you do does not often happen just by accident. Find the way that you can kneel and kiss the ground and do it. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit, to hum here, to sing out loud. If you're at home, number 346 in our great hymnal, come sing a song with me.
As always, please feel free to join us for social hour in the social hall after this morning's postlude, When you arrive, you will be randomized to a small group. From now, please join me in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us.
For those who weren't here early on, when I talked about this sign that I give at the end of services, it's the sign of peace from sign language. And I really like it because it evokes to me the sense of the challenges of life, which, yes, Margot, we have had a bunch of those, right? And then finding places and ways to be serene. I also like it because it's not like Jesus or the Buddha doing that, because I don't feel like I'm really either of those folks. And so that's why I do it. So may the beauty truly be what we do as much as possible. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. May we each find our way, and may you go in peace.